way. Today is Thursday, May. Wait, yeah. No, March. What am I
No.
saying, May? I'm thinking about something else. March 30th, 2017. Hi, George.
Hi, George.
The pre-show.
Pre-show.
That was a creepy voice.
It still can't be creepier than that stupid, weird thing you did earlier today.
Me or Danny?
Danny.
Me.
Danny was like searching for something, and he went like, it sounded gross, and he knew it the second he did it.
We're gonna do the break schedule a little different today. We'll start off, and we'll do the little guy first.
Okay.
Around 10:10ish, 10:12ish, and that possible guest we might have might be on now.
Oh yeah. Shit.
Yeah. So,
Shit.
but you honestly won't know until he answers and says, "Let's do this" or whatever. So I just heard, and I'm not gonna fucking text and drive, and I think at this point, if it happens, and I'll just fill it in on the label later.
All right. So how you doing?
Oh, good. Thanks for asking.
Get
And
it up
you?
in a minute.
I'm doing great. Whoa.
How you
not
doing now?
Not too well. Yeah, I like that noise.
How you doing, Danny? Whoa.
Doing good.
You are, but not the weirdo next to me.
What a banana. Oh, he also called that guy a Muppet.
Who called who a Muppet?
Baby.
Chevella.
Did he
After
really?
He called him a banana. He called him a Muppet.
Didn't you beat Buffalo Blue once for a bet, and he had to admit on Twitter he was a Muppet and actually post Fozzie Bear?
Yeah.
That was funny.
And how I think.
Howie too?
I think so.
Yeah, the avatar
that
was a good
felt
idea to accompany that, because the Twitter, I guess depending on who you is, it kind of disappears. So, but the avatar stays. Okay.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position, because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yes!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the only show that matters in mixed martial arts. It's the MMAjunkie Radio Show. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Ghost, our ace co-host back east, handling all the producing duties today. It's going to be Danny. What's up, guys?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It is a good day, huh?
Uh-huh. This is kind of like a good day shirt. This is my shirt that says spring is upon us.
I was trying to figure out what color it is, because I don't think it's pink. It's more like a Pepto-Bismol color.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I was going to say, I think I've heard it be called salmon.
I think salmon's a little bit lighter.
Lighter? Okay. Well, it's definitely not orange nor red. It's
It is very Easterish, though.
Yeah, yeah. So I like the spring because the summer's brutal. The summer's fun, but it's kind of brutal here in Las Vegas. So it's not that much fun. I'm more of a, everyone knows my favorite season's the fall, but I would say spring. I don't know, something about turning the corner, getting out of the winter, and looking forward to football primarily, and of course the way a few seasons wind down, basketball, and the English Premier League, and even back in the day, hockey. Fun times. Here we are. It is Thursday, March 30th, and we have a few shows to discuss for this coming up weekend, including Bellator 175, headlined by Rampage and King Mo 2. There's also a few regional shows that we'll bring up, and as always, we ask you to support, because I'm telling you, those stars, those main eventers and co-main eventers from those cards become the next Rampage and King Mo. Next week is UFC 210 out in Buffalo, New York, back after, 20 years?
Great card.
In Buffalo?
Huh?
In Buffalo?
Probably, yeah.
20 years,
what
right?
Wasn't it like UFC
96, 97. I remember Jim Kelly was in the audience.
Yeah.
And they pulled him aside. I think Marco Huas was in that audience as well and was going to partake in the next one.
I think our, may he rest in peace, but I think Barry Meyer was at that card as well.
He was at a few of the first 10. He may have been like at 5 of them. He was an old schooler as well. Let me look it up here. UFC in Buffalo. But if I'm not mistaken, that's what happened. And get this. This is the power of a good nickname. UFC 210. How can I find it? What's the quickest way to find this?
Just type in UFC 210.
Events. No, I'm looking for the old one. So they bring Marco Huas in between a fight, and then I didn't know who he was. All I knew is they called him the King of the Streets, and I think he was undefeated. That was good enough for me. I couldn't wait for him to fight again. Of course, a good record has always been attractive for a promoter to promote, for a fighter to have as well, and for fans to just believe in, But that nickname, the King of the Streets, and at the time, Brazilians were kicking booty, so if he was the King of the Streets in Brazil, then hell. Let me know when he's fighting. Here's my $49.95.
This is the Brawl in Buffalo.
Oh, you found it?
It's called.
Okay. So it's UFC 7.
9,000 people in attendance.
That's it. That's not bad back in the day, yeah. What are some other fun facts?
Ken Shamrock versus Oleg Taktarov in the super fight.
The buy rate was 190,000. It was Ken Shamrock and Oleg Taktarov, because Ken Shamrock drew with Royce Gracie at UFC 5, but Royce Gracie, I think, after that, pretty much was done, right, with UFC?
Yeah.
And so Shamrock had to battle Severn and a few others.
Yeah, that was not very good. This one actually wasn't too bad, him and Oleg.
All right, so Huas was on this one already. That's when he chopped down Paul Varelin. So he must have been interviewed at UFC 7, and he was to appear at UFC 8. But I knew there was a tie-in with Buffalo, New York. Come on, this was 20-some years ago. Spare me a little bit. Also on the card was Mark Hall,
Remco Pardo,
and Harold Howard made his return.
But your
Larry Cureton. I remember Larry Cureton. Wow, look at all the submissions.
Your meat and potatoes.
The first 2 ended in submission. The first 6 out of 7 ended in submission. I guess some were to strikes, and there was two TKOs. So there was some finishes going down here. But yeah, look at these names: Geza Coleman, Francesco Maturi, yeah, David Hood. Who were these guys? These could have been other famous fighter or other up and comers from those days.
But they can always say, I stepped into that cage.
They can. They were alternate bouts. So what it was the quarterfinals, these 8 fighters here. Varlins versus Harris, Hall versus Howard, Pardo versus Parker. Who else? That wasn't a strong card. If Art Davey was here, I'd go, Art, God bless you, man, but that wasn't your strongest card.
But if you take Ken Shamrock and Oleg Taktarov at the time, those were like 2 of their
biggest
stars.
Maybe you're right. Perhaps you're right.
So they're coming strong at the top with the super fight. I mean, really,
because by then
group they're just missing kind of maybe Hoist or like a Pat Smith.
By then I was convinced that Pardo just wasn't going to be it, and neither was Howard. Neither was Cureton. Who else was a star? Was he won it? Shamrock Tatarov. I get that. Okay, that's your main event. But I feel like of these alternates in quarterfinals, weren't there better guys yet to be found?
I mean, maybe it'd be nice.
No weight classes. Not like we were restricted. Like, he's a heavyweight. He can't fight this welterweight. I mean, anything was going back. Like, remember the Hugo Duartes and the Hickson's, and around that time, I guess they found Tank. I don't know. Like, could have done a little better, but whatever.
I mean, I'm thinking
What am I gonna
if
do,
you're
change
them
history?
and you're thinking, all right, this is 7, we're working on 8. You can't use up all your names, right? Maybe 8. They say,
Yeah.
hey, let's come back with Tank.
But they were 2-3 months apart. So it wasn't like, we
True.
got UFC Fight Night 108 this weekend, UFC on Fox 25 next weekend, the Fight Pass the following weekend, and then the pay-per-view. It wasn't like that. It was like,
God Medina
we got
doing?
March, June, September, and December. Oh, the
Those
fun
were
days,
the
man.
days.
Yeah, and we're still in the leather helmet stages of the sport, I say. I thought when we hit 20 years we got out, but not yet. We're still in it.
You would just hear rumors from people. Oh, yeah, I heard in Brazil this guy did that. And you'd eat it all up. Eat it all. There weren't trolls back then. Everything you heard was real.
Dan, did you get my info on BX?
I did not.
Oh, fuck. Why does it never work?
Why do you guys continue to use it when you know it doesn't work?
Yeah, I don't.
You guys
I don't
have
know
that
why
same
it's
conversation.
I actually
like
pull
twice a
calls.
week.
Like I could see the Jersey Mike's on hold. That always works. It worked. All right. So Jersey Mike's on hold, right?
Danny?
Danny, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is Jersey Mike on hold?
Yeah, I said he is.
All right, let's put him through. Junkie Radio.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just wanted to touch base and talk about Bellator.
Okay.
I'm a little bit disappointed with this card, but the one coming up this Friday, just because I think it's top heavy, but it has nothing else to offer really. But going forward, do you think that all the cards are going to be like this because of what they're trying to do with the pay-per-view?
I think it'll definitely suffer, that's for sure, yeah. I don't know if they would be exactly like this, but, I mean, hasn't that been going on already? It seems like some cards they're able to stack, and then others. But they do go to smaller markets, too, when they do that type of stuff. But you're right. It's very top-heavy. It's good to see Marcos Galvao again. Sergey Karatanov is kind of like a hardcore name that people remember. What I do like, though, is if you go to their preliminary card, anybody who's buying tickets to this is going to see a lot of fights. And they're trying to develop guys, and they're hoping that these guys come around. But, yeah, it is a little bit of a slow process, and it's hard to kind of keep up and continue to be a hardcore fan for them.
Yeah, I feel like the issue I have is I really want to get into their product, and I believe in their process, and it's going to be hard for me to buy into the pay-per-view. I plan on going to it, and then afterwards, I'm looking forward to any cards.
Well, I always compare things to college football, or you can go with college basketball, whatever. But Scott Coker's in that period right now where Bjorn Rebney has come and gone, and you could say all of the players that he left behind have almost all gone, and I think now you're stuck with a roster that Scott likes and that he can build around. So any of the criticism that comes now, you can no longer fall back on, well, these weren't my guys. I didn't sign these guys. I have to find them fights. Now he's got a lot of pressure on him. He's got a lot of pressure to perform, and he's done a lot of things that you could say has the Scott Coker signature. Some people loved it, other people didn't. So he's got a lot of pressure, and hopefully they can just find that good balance of signing these free agents. Like, I love the Lorenz Larkin signing. I think that's a perfect guy. He's young, he's quick, he's got some power. I think he could give that division a good. I don't even know what I'm saying, but that division's gotten pretty strong.
Right.
I want to see the featherweights get a little bit stronger, and a couple other divisions here and there, but more consistency is what I want out of them.
Yeah. Mike, we got to take a quick commercial. Thanks for calling in. Look, we just showed you UFC 8, right? We said it was?
7.
All right, 7. That was about 3 years into the UFC's existence, maybe 2 years in. And that's kind of around where Scott is. I think he's 3 years into his reign, but he did have to take over a little bit of what Bjorn had left behind. What did you have at the top? A great super fight, two big names, and then a couple other sprinkled names, and then the rest was just, like I said, not top-notch UFC material. And I think that's kind of what this is for Bellator. But, then they also had the Ultimate, like not too long after that, and that was pretty stacked. And I think that's what Bellator is trying to do for the Bellator 180 card that's coming up at MSG. So really, I mean, they are kind of on a curve, I guess, that we're going to grade them on because the sport's been in existence. But Bellator under Scott Coker is definitely different from Bellator under Bjorn Rebney. There's no tournaments. There's actual fights that are just put together. So you have to be a little patient and look back on what Go said. Great free agent signings. They're going international, and now they have resources and Viacom money pushing them. So I expect great things from Bellator in the next few years. All right, we're going to take this quick break. When we come back, hopefully we'll have a guest from the Bellator 175 card. That's happening on Friday, 9 p.m. on Spike. We'll be right back.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Quick shout out to Jason Lackey from San Francisco. Good friend of the show. We bust balls from time to time on Facebook, but every once in a while he just sends a kind text. And he really enjoyed the shows during March Madness, said we kept it together despite the fact that this studio was full of hoops fans and MMA fans and a couple guests that we had, and it was chaos. Outside it was chaos. Yeah, but one way or another we made it happen, and he enjoyed it, and I just want to thank him for those kind words, because it can be chaos at times in here, and we wonder, like, did we just put out a shitty show, or what just happened? And apparently that wasn't the case, or at least through his eyes.
Out there it was chaos, and here it was controlled chaos, as Jake Ellenberger would say.
This is true, yeah. Let's see here. So we might still have our surprise guest, but it's not done yet. So in the meantime, we can take your calls at 866-522-2846. You may have to jump off a call or put you back on hold if something does come to fruition. And the only other thing I wanted to say was there's a few fighters like Clay Guida and Vince Pichel. And haven't heard those names for a while. Even Eric Koch, the Guida-Koch matchup. Just kind of good to see a few of those guys, doing their thing again. And how about Alistair Overeem versus Fabricio Verdum, targeted for UFC 213 in Las Vegas. Luke Rockhold wanted to fight Fabricio Verdum, but it looks like this is going to be their third installment. One was under the Pride banner, one was under the Strikeforce banner, so now we'll finish things out with one under the UFC banner. It is 1-1.
It's really weird because you wouldn't have thought a few years ago that these guys, if you go back 7 years ago, you'd think, all right, I could see these guys in the position they're in now. Then you went through a little time period where you'd say, I wouldn't. I could see them fighting, but not at this level where they could be that close to title shots. And now we're back again in the same spot. It's so weird, like how these careers with heavyweights go up and down like that. Like even Arlovsky, he had a resurgence, and then he went back down. Frank Mir,
I agree.
I mean, it's like the heavyweights are strange. They're hard to keep track of.
Yeah, and I just think that like Verdum just looked like bad that night. He was flopping, and Alistair was huffing and puffing because he was Uberim that night, and he had a lot of muscle, man. That guy would cut to 265, and you could just tell. It wasn't that he was, I guess he was partly out of shape, but he just had so much muscle. I don't think he could keep his wind. So that they kind of almost needed to make that one up in a way. And I think in this one, with the way Overeem has had a resurgence under Greg Jackson and his own team that works over at Greg Jackson's, I just think we're gonna get to see them settle a fight that we never really got to see them at their full potential.
Yeah, that's true. They, I think Verdum didn't look too good because of the flopping. You could tell he was just kind of exhausted, didn't want to stand with him.
He didn't look in as good a shape either, and his Muay Thai was nowhere where it's at now.
And Overeem got the criticism of, well, you had the wounded duck. How could you not finish him? So that was a rough night. I remember that fight.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of this Chopped on Food Network?
Yeah.
Is that one of the ones we watch? We watch Kitchen Nightmares, or what's on from time to time?
The other day, I don't know if you remember this, but I said something like, I've never seen this one before, and Juliet kind of explained it to me. That was that show.
Okay.
I think the one you saw was with like celebrities on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they go in, they give them ingredients. You got to make a dish out of that, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's do some calls. Danny, they're calling us back, or you're calling them back?
They told me they would call us back, but I mean, I guess if we give them 10 minutes and I haven't heard anything, I can try them again. But they said they were rushing to get into a car to leave.
Got it. Okay. Proteus from Ontario, Canada. What's up?
Good morning, dudes. I don't know. I didn't hear all of what Jason Lackey said in that message because I was talking to Danny, but I agree with him what he said, that the March Madness shows are always fantastic. It's like, I said this to Danny a couple weeks ago, it's like a reset button for you guys. You know what I mean? You're in there every 5 days a week, and you're doing the same thing over and over again, and then you guys get this big influx of people coming to see you, have a great time, and I enjoy this time of year. It's like as I said, a reset button for you guys. It's the way I see it.
Thank you. I'm not going to lie. With us having that demographic of 21 to 49 here in studio and so much foot traffic, which we normally don't have much because there's foot traffic here to be had in this casino, in the sports book, but it's mostly in the evenings or on the weekends. So during the week, there's horse racing that's happening back east. Hell, I'm seeing dogs. Those are dogs, right? There's dog racing going on. And then there's the afternoon baseball games from time to time. And on Martin Luther King, there's some NBA and whatever. But for the and some overseas soccer. But for the most part, most of the stuff is prime time. And so, on an occasion like that, with us having like a studio that's so well lit, I mean, we spent good money on these trusses that hold up these expensive lights. And so, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I wanted to have a big bang, for those days. And I think we've tried to do that at least every March Madness. So, having Kevin Lee coming off his big win, he was here, and Dan Bilzerian, and then a few other guests the day before was a blast.
Yeah, and I want to talk, if I can, keep it kind of like what Jersey Mike was talking about Bellator. Mainly, I want to talk about the pay-per-view and how I think it's a huge mistake. And I apologize if you guys have already talked about this week. I'm catching up on shows. But I think it's a huge mistake for Bellator. I really do, and I don't understand why the Viacom executives are so, why they want to push for pay-per-view so much. I understand the big prices of the big stars, but I don't see Bellator being a pay-per-view product. Do you guys?
Yeah, if Bellator was maybe 4 times a year or something like that, there's just no way you can load up the card with the roster they have and then be able to bounce back with that on Spike. That's what we were talking about in the last call. They can put on great shows that I would pay money to watch, but then what? What happens with the rest of your roster? What do you do with those fighters? And the fighters that lose in those fights, are they going to be as marketable? You just signed Benson Henderson. That was a great name. That was a great signing. But, he lost his opener. He lost to Chandler. What do you do with him now? Is he as big of a name? So it's tough. I like that they're trying it just because you got to test the waters. But I don't know how successful it's going to be.
Well,
and I don't want to be a negative Nancy.
Can they do it? Can they do it? Once a month? Obviously not.
No.
Can they do it twice per year? I'd say yes. And then I guess the question is, where do they settle in? Once per quarter? That's 4 per year. Oof, I don't know. I'm not sure because I don't know what else they're trying to do. But you have to have a pretty deep roster. You don't want to just go, hey, here are our headliners, give us some money, and then we're going to have some other names. You actually have to come pretty strong to compete with everything else. The marquee boxing matchups that we have a few times a year, along with WWE and I guess they have their own network now, but it's still a little bit of just, okay, I've prepaid for the WWE network, but my time is allotted for the WWE network, so you don't want to go in against that either. And then, of course, the monster that is UFC. So I would say I'm comfortable with 2 per year. And then depending on how that goes, maybe graduate to 4 per year. Maybe I think 10 pole shows I think are 4 times a year. So maybe that's what those become. But
start with 2.
It all has to do with what it has to do with is just I think 50% of people that just aren't comfortable with Bellator yet, and 50% that kind of want these marquee matchups that they're paying for on with the UFC and what's the drop-off and what's it worth?
I like that they're going international a lot because if you look at the attendance in the international shows, they do well out there. What I'm looking for in a pay-per-view is I want a fight that has some kind of heat, which you get with Chael and Vanderlei, but I also want them to tell a story, and I want to know this is a contenders fight, or this could be a lead-up to the next guy. I think that's where they fall short a little bit, is they don't really have build-up to the championship fights.
I mean, if you guys look at the pay-per-view that just in boxing with Triple G, I mean, he's supposed to be the biggest name coming up, and that pay-per-view did not do very well. I know there's a big shake-up at Viacom, and Spike is no longer going to be Spike. It's going to be Paramount Channel, which is a movie channel, right, guys? It's not really a sports channel. So maybe this is kind of somewhere for Bellator kind of looking to see where they could go in the future. I just don't think I think pay-per-view is dead, to be honest, guys. I don't think people have the kind of money that they used to have to spend on I look at the UFC. How many pay-per-views a year do we have to buy as MMA fans? And now Bellator wants to add on to that, guys. I think it's a very, very bad idea, and I know you've got a call coming up, so I'll get off the line and get out of the way. Thank you very much.
Okay, see you, buddy.
I absolutely agree. I think it's gonna be really tough. Think about your life 5 years ago. All the things that require money now, right? Just the little things, the Amazon Primes, the Netflix of the world. That sort of stuff is starting to chew up that money that you used to have waiting for a pay-per-view at the end of the month. Now you're just paying all kinds of shit.
I'll keep it simple.
Apps. Even apps are like $3-4.
These guys like Kevin K, John Slusser, Scott Coker, who've now been in the game, at least the two Spike guys, for probably 10 years, and Scott Coker going back to kickboxing 20-plus 30 years, maybe approaching 30. They got to know something. So you have to kind of trust in them. And I'm sure there's just a book like this where they come in and they go, show us the pay-per-view numbers and what happens there. And they go, this is it. They look at it and go, oh, wow. And then show us a normal show how we've been doing. And they say, oh, wow, okay. And then obviously this pay-per-view package trumps this. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it, or it wouldn't be worth the roll of the dice to do it. So, like I said, many of us go, oh, fuck, the UFC only sold 250 pay-per-views? Oh, man, that sucks for them. But I've shared with you guys from what I've heard, and this was years ago, who knows what the numbers are now, that if they sold either 150 or 175, everything else was a great night for them. 1 million or 700,000 or 800,000 was an awesome night. I mean, it almost made for an awesome quarter or maybe half of a year. So it is a profitable show for them. It could be that Bellator, same thing, maybe running things on a smaller scale, aren't looking for the 200,000 mark or the 175 mark. But if they can get just past 100 or 150, huge night for them, which trumps just a regular show. Mm-hmm. So if they look at it like that, they could be going, it's a win, Now, granted, yeah, there's people out there chirping, trying to maybe, share their ideas, and that's fine too. But again, sometimes you just have to stand from behind and trust those guys with what they're doing, because they're not trying to go out there and flop, and they're not trying to go out there and lose money.
This is our reaction now to the card, but I guarantee you people are going to get a little bit more pumped up. Chael and Vanderlei are starting to chirp a little bit. The more and more you see Fedor and Mitrione, you start going, yeah, I do kind of want to watch that. Bellator's really good about putting these specials together, really promoting their card. I think when it comes to maybe the week before, we might all be singing a different tune.
You still have Larkin and Lima, and you still have Chandler defending his title against Brett Primus. So there's 4. They promised more, and there'll be some, good push. Let's see what happens. The price, I think $10 would have been $10 less would have been better. Sorry, not 10 to buy it. $39.95. I think they're really. I believe that every $10 there is some sort of a drop off. That's when people go, what do we have extra in the budget? Mm-hmm. And there is some sort of a drop off. But if you want them to sign these athletes and give them a place to play per se, well, guess what? Some of that is going to cost some money. Some of those free agents. I think they have to try different streams of revenue and see what hits.
The worm on the
hook. It's not like they're shoving them down our throats. I think the other one was 2014. This is 2017. So
the worm on the hook is you got to feel like you don't want to be that guy that missed out. You don't want to read on Twitter, shit, it was a great fight. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. I can't believe I passed it up. They need to make you feel that way.
Marco from Waco, brother. What's up?
Marco from Waco. Are you ready for WrestleMania, vatos?
I buy it every 3 years, I think. I just kind of look at goes and go, you in? Okay, cool. We did it 2 years ago?
I think so.
And I don't feel like if I were to say that to Goes, he'd say I'm in this time. I think we'll back off. Hell.
I don't even remember who the main event was.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm in, honestly. And I'm not crapping on pro wrestling. I'm just not going to watch WrestleMania. I don't think I'll just get around to it.
I think this year I may want to do it.
Now, here's the funny thing. What if it was free? Then sure. I think I'd start off with it on one of the TVs as I'm doing work or just doing other stuff. And then if you say, hey, man, you got to watch this, I run in the room, I watch, or we turn up the volume, and then finish out the show. But, yeah, for the most part, I don't know, man. I don't think I'll be there.
It's actually cheaper to just get the network because on pay-per-view, they still charge you for like $50, $60.
50,
for the same $50, $60, you get 6 pay-per-views on the network, because you get $10 a month. But whatever, I'm not here to promote the WWE. Hey, on the everybody talking about the $50 for the Bellator card and stuff like that. And, it got me thinking because I'm very critical about stuff like this. The baseline for this guy was the only pay-per-view they ever had, the Rampage Kimmo, and they sell, 100,000 buys, something like that? That is, at a $50 a pop, it's $5 million. I'm talking about the very baseline. Now, you got to pay half of that crap to the pay-per-view provider, because I don't know what the split is for the pay-per-view provider. It's like 30, 40, 50% sometimes. And then you got to pay the New York state taxes. So what you're left with is probably $1.5 million, $2 million on revenue, man. And that would not be a good night for Bellator, man. So they need to push at least for 250,000
But
to see some
the
return on
arena wasn't
investment.
empty, though. People paid tickets to get in and all. I mean, there's other revenue, too.
Yeah, but you got Chael Sonnen, Fedor Emelianenko, and Vanderlei Silva on that card. I mean, Tron got a pretty good contract, too. On that over here alone, to pay these guys is gonna eat a lot of your revenue. It's just simple math, man.
No, I get
I'm
it,
wishing,
but they're not listening to you right now going, holy shit, Marco from Waco's got a point. We're dumb. There's got to be something, bro. There's got to be something that makes sense to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about 250. I think that's that's a number they'd be ecstatic with, and I think it'd be a moneymaker for them. I think topping 100 would be big, just because they could say, look, we made we did better than the last time, and so that shows growth. And I believe that 150 would make them happy, and anything over that, then I believe the high fives start coming in. I've heard from behind the scenes that a lot of us like to go, oh man, they only had 600,000 or 700,000. They must be pissed, and they're not pissed. That's actually a good show for them. It's just that something about the landmark number of 1 million means like it's really cool, it's really great. The high fives are everywhere. But no, apparently, I mean, come on, Viacom's been backing them for a few years now, and if it was a product that was suffering, then I think those people who know TV would have probably started pulling the plug, and then we would have started hearing interviews from Bader or Larkin or others where they go, I went there, but they weren't really offering much, so I was forced to re-sign with UFC, or I went to one championship. And that's actually not the case of what's happening. They're actually holding up their end of the bargain there. So you have to, I guess, just trust the promotion.
Yeah, hey, last two quick points on the Viacom thing. Bellator is a Viacom product. So even though Spike is going to become Paramount, I'm wondering where Bellator is going to land. Maybe MTV or something like that, because when a movie channel is not a good fit. Last thing, and Drake Akamoto, and a lot of people know this. This is Rampage's last fight on his Bellator settlement. He's after this, he doesn't have to fight for Bellator anymore, and his UFC contract was frozen on that settlement. So technically, if the UFC wants to invoke the contract, they can bring him right back into the UFC. He has a heavyweight on the UFC. I actually like it, man. What do you guys think about that? And who do you want to see him fight on the UFC on his favorite tone as a heavyweight? We're going to let you guys tomorrow.
All right. We're going to go to break. We'll tackle these questions when we come back. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you! Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
Let's get back to some calls here. Next up is Showtime from Tennessee. If you want to follow him, there's one caller on hold, and then after that, we're wide open at 866-522-2846. What's up, Showtime? It's your time.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Not much.
Hey, I just Googled that Triple G fight didn't do too well. It did 170,000 buys. That's not too good. Now,
yeah, and they had quality fighters there.
Now, check this out. Oscar De La Hoya was saying he questioned Triple G star status. Now that's another way for them to run to keep from fighting Triple G. Because, you know, I guess Canelo would be the cash cow if they fought because he has a big following. That's pretty interesting. I wonder if we'll ever see that fight now. That's a way to duck that fight. Just say he's not a...
It's a disappointing number, but I'm wondering if the promoter feels like it was a catastrophic loss or what they feel like. I don't know. Of course, I don't think promoters in present time will ever tell you that. Maybe years later they'll go, oh, yeah, that one hurt us. But, yeah, I would expect that number to have been higher, especially after the time Triple G's been putting in. He's a finisher, but I'm sorry, he's a little bit dry as a human being. Like, there's nothing edgy or exciting about him in that regard, but as a fighter, man, he's fantastic. His fights are fantastic. His finishes are fantastic, but something's lacking. And once again, it goes back to what we say on this show. Get us in the door to begin with. Once we're in the door, entertain, and then afterwards, talk about just how entertaining you were. You know, I mean, we want to be you is what it boils down to. And as fans, and respect and bowing and traditions, it's great. It's a part of this sport, and it should be, but it's not what pays you the most.
That's the thing, though. Boxing, you need a dancing partner. In MMA, Ronda could fight anyone. It's going to sell, right? There's certain fighters. Conor, he could fight anyone. It's going to sell. Boxing, you know, you always need that dance partner. And Canelo Alvarez is that dance partner.
He is that dance partner. There's a few guys that I can think of that have done it the other way, and that's – well, Fedor's not – we can't really classify him as a pay-per-view draw because we don't even know that he ever – was around those other
made our ass
Affliction.
Stay up till like 3 a.m. I mean,
not for a pay-per-view though. He didn't sell a pay-per-view, but we stayed awake to watch. Yes, but for Affliction, they made 100,000 for the first show. I don't know what they did for the second, and but GSP, it just took him a while as the nice guy. He was dominant. He cleaned out a division. He didn't chirp much.
Couture.
Couture, yeah, Couture was another guy. So, but there does have to be something to it, you know.
Yeah, you're right. If you're gonna be that nice guy, you better be a fucking supermodel. You know, better have supermodel looks. You better have something, you know, to make people want to tune in.
Right, or the gimmick or the gimmick that you know tells everybody you're something.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. It has to be something with you. I hear everybody griping about the Bellator pay-per-view. I'll buy it last resort, but normally I'll go, you know, to a sports bar somewhere and watch it. You know, even with a lot of the UFC pay-per-views. Sometimes if I'm just too lazy and don't feel like going out, I'll buy it. But normally I'll just go, you know, to a Dave & Buster's or to I'm trying to see who else shows Bellator. I don't know, Buffalo Wild Wings. I think they show Bellator too. But there's a couple places that show Bellator, and I'm pretty sure they'll have the card going there for all the guys that don't want to pay the little $49.
Yeah, and if they don't, will you pay?
Yeah, if they don't, I'll pay. I mean, $49, I'll mess that up. You know, if you're just looking at what I do on a daily basis, I'm eating a little bit healthier now, so I'm not spending as much money just on garbage. But I would just blow through $40 in a day just buying garbage along my, you know, daily. So, yeah, I'll buy it.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, man.
All right, guys.
See you. I feel like I'm on a phone call. Talk to you soon. Thanks for the call to the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Showtime is what I meant to say. C to the Triple B. What's up, man?
Phyllis, Clearwater Beach bad boy checking into the program with a little bit of the laryngitis. You know, the Clearwater Beach bad boy has been on the road. Arena football season is upon us. Clearwater Beach Bad Boy wants to thank everybody who tuned into the CW, the WB, and the Fox bullshit up there in Philadelphia 2 weekends ago to watch the Clearwater Beach Bad Boy live on television and on YouTube pay-per-view. And since I am the only caller that you will have on this program that knows anything about pay-per-view numbers, let's break this down. Will we just give me a second to break down 150,000 pay-per-view buys, which people are shitting all over. Now, let's make this very clear that I would always rather have 60% of a watermelon than 100% of a fucking grape. And the mouth breathers that listen to this program and the YouTubers and the different people that don't think that this is a worthwhile venture, if you have to question whether or not $49 is a good or bad investment for you on a Saturday night, then you probably should do something else, like get a haircut or buy soap or buy groceries. Put gas in your car. Don't worry about a fucking pay-per-view on Bellator. But let's just say they get 150,000 pay-per-view buys. Hey, got your calculators out?
Yep.
How much money is that at $49 a pop? I'll see if you guys match what I got. Take a wild guess.
$7.5 million?
$7.5 million. Pay-per-view takes 13% of that off the top, or at least a few years ago they did. They might, on people that do reoccurring
I heard it
deals,
was closer. I heard it was closer to 50-50, but if you negotiate well or you've done it for a while, maybe even 60-40. But let's just give them 70-30. But I'm not going to give them 13%. So 30% of this 7.5 million would be they keep 2 and Bellator keeps 5.
Right. Well, from what I
Did he just
understand,
shush
at
me?
this point, the going rate is 13%. So let's just say it's 13%. Let's say it's 25%. That's only about $1 million, $7.5 million. Even if they got 100,000 pay-per-view buys, they're going to make about $4 million on this deal after everything. And I'm sure there's some guys that might have some stuff on the back end, but 60% of the watermelon is better than 100% of the grape. So that's exactly what I'm saying. Even if they get 50,000 pay-per-view buys, they're still going to make money, and they have virtually nothing invested in it other than a camera crew, which wouldn't run more than $20,000 worth of feeds and trucks for the night anyways. It's a win-win with 50 or 20,000 pay-per-view buys, and people just don't get this, guys.
Well, I kind of said that. I kind of said I didn't break it down like you did, but I've heard 150 is a moneymaker for the UFC, and you know, usually their salaries will be higher than most Bellator cards. This one does have some big names on there, so we don't know what it'll cost. But then Goes also brought up the gate and the other revenue that comes through. Bellator will make money on this show. It's just whether they make a lot and they're super happy or just a little bit, but they will make money, and they'll definitely make more money than if they were just to keep the product on TV. And I think it also speaks volumes on behalf of your company. You know, you have to convince the fans one way or another that this is a show. It's starting to become a promotion that you need to tune into.
It's millions, guys. And speaking of Goes, I want to congratulate Goes, and I feel like we need to congratulate him because, listen, Las Vegas is getting an NFL team. As if they didn't need any more drools in downtown near the MGM in a couple of years, but my properties there are now soaring, guys. The Hooters Casino almost looks like a good idea now. So I want to congratulate Goes on getting an NFL team because I kind of feel, even though he's a Redskins guy, that this is kind of his baby. Guys like him and Sam and the Squid are into this shit.
Goes, thank you for the call. Do you have a reply to that?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, congrats to you.
Thanks. I laid the foundation.
I'll tell you what. I'm happy because of the stadium.
University.
I don't hate the Raiders. I hate the way Raiders fans act at times, but I don't hate.
That's every fan, though, George.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But we happen to have a lot of NorCal fans, and with my team being from NorCal, there's a lot of just like silly talk.
Mm.
Like I like the ball busting, but you know when it's like fucking 30 or 40 memes and they're all the same and you repeat the same shit every week, it's like, okay, whatever. But regardless, it is an NFL team in the city. It's good for Vegas. That stadium, though, I think is going to be great.
It's going to be awesome
for Las Vegas. And the location is great for Mandalay Bay. And whether Mandalay Bay thinks of us as family, they're family to me. I don't know if they reciprocate the feeling, but I think it's going to be great for this hotel, for MGM Resorts.
It's good for UNLV.
Yeah. So let's do it. Build the damn stadium. Let's go. Let's keep going.
What some people will argue is it's not great for the community.
Why is that?
It's only because that money
a lot of jobs
to a lot of
cops,
a lot of teachers, a lot of firemen. but we'll see. I mean, this is going to bring a lot of people as well. So
Let me talk about that since we have time. We're all commercialed out, right, Danny, for the first hour?
Yes, we are.
So I would like for someone to give a really, really intelligent breakdown of that, because I'm not against hearing it. But the way I feel goes, when people say, my taxes are going to this and going to that, I hear that. I hear people's arguments. But, man, all I know is they take a bite out of me. The IRS does. And the money goes here, it goes there. How it affects me is I'm a massive sports fan who can't wait to have a stadium like that because of what it'll do for us. As far as teachers and firemen and this and that, well, I'm not them. And that's why I just kind of say, well, sorry. I mean, those are the breaks, I guess. But if somebody can make an argument as to why that's so much more important than a stadium, then I'm willing to listen. But the stadium will also have jobs, and I think it'll be good for the growth of the city. And, again, it'll be growth towards the industry we're a part of. We're a branch of sports. That's what MMA is. And MMA also is friendly or, second cousins with pro wrestling and a few other sports. So that's why I feel like it helps the overall sports picture, even though we're just a branch of it. A smaller branch, because I know we're not the NFL, but we're MMA and we're growing. And I'll give you an example. What do we talk about here on the show when we're not talking about MMA? Manchester United gets brought up. You don't think they might not play there soon? And so instead of driving to Santa Clara or LA or Salt Lake City, I can just drive up to the new stadium here in Las Vegas and watch my squad play, or the USA versus Mexico or Panama World Cup qualifying, stuff like that.
Well, there are a couple things. Yeah, you're right. World Cup qualifying. But how about just the World Cup itself? There's certain things that it puts your city on the map when you get those type of things, and it opens the door up for if the Olympics come back, now you're in the game, right? If the World Cup comes back, now you're in the game. So I love what it does for the profile of the city. But yeah, I mean, it does suck when you hear like a bunch of teachers getting laid off or classrooms with 50 kids. Man, I was in classrooms with
Is that mean for me to say I
kids and
kind of don't care?
A little.
It probably comes from a guy that doesn't have kids. Right? Doesn't have kids, so maybe I'm desensitized from that.
Think about what we did to teachers.
All I know,
our classes were 25, maybe 30 at the most. Now they're getting up in the 40s,
I feel like
50s.
every generation is going to deal with some bullshit. And as a kid, I dealt with some bullshit, and I overcame. And I'm just, I'm not like, I'm not trying to say I'm the shit or anything, because I'm not. But we got a job. We have fun at our job. We're living lives. And we've shared this with you all. It's not like we're breaking the bank either. But that's that, And history's proven that people can overcome rough situations in different types of schools. So, yeah, I mean, look, would I want better teachers, this, that, whatever? Yes. Am I going to see it in my lifetime? Is it going to affect me? I don't know. So, call me a dick or whatever. I'll take it.
I think our mentality in this country when it comes to education is how do we make sure everybody gets by? And I think in other countries, it's not about getting by. It's
getting better,
the best out of what you can do out of your people. And I think that's where we lack.
Okay, so let's say the United States goes millions and they're funneled. All right, they're funneled towards education. What I want to know are current Americans and their kids ready to accept that, embrace that, and become better? Because I think a lot of Americans are lazy too, and that's why a lot of
kids to embrace. It's up to the parents.
Well, yeah, I mean, it starts with them, but also I just think that there's a lot of kids that have bad habits, and so I even think there's a bigger problem. But if you said, all right, one teacher, 10 kids, and we're really going to push it. We're really going to push education. Are kids ready to accept that and embrace that? I don't know.
Parenting, man.
Yeah, so
parenting's a big thing. I remember even just growing up, like I'd get a phone call. What are you doing? Oh, I'm playing Nintendo. Shit, you can play Nintendo past 7? I can't do that. You're lucky. I mean, just some parents crack down, and that's study time or whatever. It all starts somewhere, right? A kid picking up an iPad, a cell phone, and the parent telling them you got to put that shit away for an hour and read or do something.
Remember when we walked in Japan?
I don't know.
Did it look like any of those families that were walking around in Japan? Did it look like the kid couldn't wait to go home and play on an app or play a game or whatever? That motherfucker looked like he couldn't wait to go in there and crack the books or to do something for his physical fitness or whatever. It's not just the parents. It's also, I guess, the culture of a country, of a state, of a city. And so there's a lot of work to be done, man, on a bunch of different levels, for sure.
But I love the stadium.
I do. The stadium outweighs the other stuff. Sorry, firemen. Sorry, teachers. I don't want anyone to ever lose a job, but
The
whatever.
first day we're stuck in
Can't
traffic.
wait for the stadium.
We're
I'm
gonna
just
be
being
so
honest.
pissed.
Huh?
The first day we're stuck in traffic, we're going to be so pissed. This goddamn stadium.
Well, didn't we think that for T-Mobile, and it hasn't been that bad? Granted, we're not around it a
We don't
lot.
really go that way, though.
Right. But, I mean, the stadium just kind of keeps away from us. Whatever. All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93. And we have a couple more guests coming your way here in the second hour. We're going to talk to C.J. Hamilton, Pat Cummins, and maybe we will do that thing that we talked about earlier, the surprise guest. We'll be right back.
I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last
right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Joining us now is one of the headliners for Bellator 175 out in Chicago, Illinois. His name is Quinton Rampage Jackson. What's up, Quinton? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for asking. Hey, Quinton, you know, it's funny because when we ask fighters, we've been doing the show for a long time, hey, who's hit you the hardest? Your names come up a lot. So I was just curious, who has hit you the hardest?
Your mama?
Other than her?
Kevin Randleman.
Kevin Randleman. All right. Nice. Tiki said he was in the running as well. Has he put you down in practice at all or you know, laid it on you at all?
Kicked me the hardest. But Kevin Randleman, if he wouldn't have admired his work when we fought in Pride, he probably would have knocked me out.
Man, I missed that guy. That was a tough loss for our sport, and may he rest in peace. Quinton, another thing I wanted to ask you was, I came across Paul Varlins versus Mark Kerr, and man, Mark Kerr was smashing him up with some knees. And I was wondering, I know you like to stand and bang and knock people out, but if we had NHB rules where you could knee someone and get violent like that, would you think you'd embrace those rules, or do we need rules in the sport to get away from some of that savagery?
The sport was too savage back in the day. You know what I'm saying? It was hard to get it mainstream. You know what I'm saying? People call it like human cockfighting. So I think the rules now are good, but I don't see nothing wrong with kneeing down opponents like Pride style. I like that part of the rules. But honestly, I don't like the elbows.
Okay. All right. Also, in an interview you gave recently, you talked about had you stayed back in Memphis, you'd work with the family in construction. I want to know, what was kind of like your strength? You know, would you have been like a bricklayer, a roofer, or a framer? Like what part of construction?
I didn't tell you, I lay pipe.
All right.
No, honestly, all my family owns, you know what I'm saying, construction companies, but I don't have my family's name, so I was more of a laborer. A little fact about me that most people don't know: I've been working since I was 5 years old in construction. I was a laborer. I think that's part of the reason why I was so strong. And I used to have like the strongest lower back in MMA because I used to have to lift big stones and wood and stuff like that as a laborer as a kid.
Man, that's cool. My dad's a blue-collar guy, so he had heard about that. He goes, all right, I'm a fan of that guy. So anyway, yeah, just wanted to ask you that. All right, Goes, my co-host, has a couple quick ones. I know you got to go. You got the weigh-ins coming up, so you just cut us off when you're out of time. But go ahead, Goes. What do you have for Quinton Rampage Jackson, headlining Bellator 175 on Friday on Spike, 9 p.m. Eastern?
Big fight. You got King Mo, and what I'm wondering is, would a decision victory make you happy, or has this guy crossed the line so much that he needs to be KO'd for you to have satisfaction at the end of the fight?
This kid needs to be KO'd. He need to be finished. I won't be happy with the victory unless he sleep or the referee is violently pulling me off of him.
We've seen you guys in the past kind of make up, not completely make up, but you guys seem to be okay with each other. Has that gone and passed as well, or do you think at the end of the fight, possibly one day you guys could be friends?
You know what? Like I said, I respect King Mo. I don't know. I think King Mo is kind of bipolar. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he's cool, sometimes he's an asshole. But I respect King Mo. We're not friends. He talks a lot of trash, but I got nothing against him outside of the cage. But when I'm fighting him, he talk a lot of shit. And, it pisses me off. It makes me want to put my fist to his face.
We took a little bit of a trip down memory lane. What say is your biggest criticism of the young bucks in the sports today, the guys that are coming in now?
I don't watch MMA, so I don't even know them.
You don't run into them in the training rooms or anything? Do they have a different type of attitude?
I don't see them. I don't know them. I don't watch MMA. I don't train with people. Team Lone Wolves, baby. You know what I'm saying? I don't train with them.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they ever run into you, hopefully they at least shake your hand and thank you for the blood, sweat, and tears, because you're a legend of the sport, and we're glad you're still around, and we can't wait for your fight on Friday. And thanks for the time, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you. All right, folks, that's Quinton Rampage Jackson. Seriously, he's been around the sport for a long time. Seen him fighting in California for King of the Cage early on, then moving on to Pride, and then of course the UFC, and now Bellator. So,
WFA, I think he had one in there, right?
Yeah.
In between.
And he is still the last Pride. So he's the current Pride middleweight champion, which the middleweight champion is their 205 division. We call him light heavyweight here. But when him and Dan merged those belts, Dan Henderson, technically he had that belt, and then I guess that was the end of it. That's his version. He said that on a show one time, and I thought about it. I go, okay, I see your point.
We used to have a fight museum here at Mandalay Bay where his belt was there. His belt and his chain, I think, were there. It was always cool to walk in there and just see that little piece of history. I think Vanderlei's belt was there as well. I wonder what happened with all that stuff.
I think that's pretty big of him, too, to mention that there is some respect. Like, you could tell when they first announced the fight, he let Mo know, hey, that was pretty ballsy for you to get in there with Crow Cop. Because that's a Pride guy recognizing another Pride guy and just how dangerous Crow Cop was and all that. And I think there was that level of respect. So these guys dislike each other, obviously. But at least from a distance, there was that respect of, hey, that was a pretty gangster move you getting in there with a guy that clearly outweighed you by like 40 pounds, And
I think it goes the other way.
That's, to me, that's when you can, kind of keep it real like that and just for one moment put aside your differences, but to still acknowledge another fellow fighter who's in, that fights, who does the same thing you do. And I think that's big of a person to do that. All right. So we have two other guests. Thank you to Tiki for making that happen, Danny from Bellator for making that happen, and our Danny for connecting us. So we are going to talk to Pat Cummins and C.J. Hamilton, but it's towards the bottom half of the second hour, so we can still take your calls at 866-522-2846. Brian from Boston, you're up, man. What's up?
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Good. How's you doing?
Good, man. I got to correct you on something you said earlier, George. You mentioned that you weren't the shit. Well, I got news for you, sir. You are the shit. Don't think that you're not.
Thanks.
When'd you say you weren't the shit?
No, what I meant was have like that type of success. But we're happy with our jobs when we come in and do our jobs, and we make a living off our jobs. And there's still room for growth in that department. But yeah, no, I wasn't, trying to say that. A lot of people like to correlate your success to money, and that just it doesn't work when you think of me.
So I called in to talk about DC versus Johnson 2, and I've been thinking about this fight since they first announced it, and I was so bummed out when it was canceled. I can't think of a rematch in recent histories that I've been looking more forward to than this fight. You take that Olympic. No, not even
wow.
that.
All right.
Something. Yeah, for me, there's something about the power that Anthony Johnson carries around in that top of the food chain Olympic wrestling that DC has, and I think I'm kind of weird, but I think about this fight 24/7, and I look at it if Rumble can somehow get his cardio gas tank higher than it was and carry him, and if he can get up off the ground if he gets taken down, that fight is going to be glorious to watch.
Well, I'm glad we're getting close to it because I've been waiting and chomping at the bit for that one as well. And every time DC fights, his striking gets better. Like when he actually stood a lot longer than I thought he would with Alexander Gustafsson, I was like, damn, my boy's arrived. Like this guy's really, really not just striking to set up takedowns and to get to ground and pound. He actually has some skills because Alex is a tough striker. And, then we see Anthony Johnson showing a little bit more, even though all his fights ended pretty quickly, there was some time on the ground, and you could just tell he was more comfortable, whereas before it was like a fish out of water, just couldn't wait to get back to his feet. One could almost say the same for Conor. Like Conor looked a little bit more comfortable the last time, or at least the process of getting him to the ground. So the fact that both have improved, I say this a lot, but Who's improved more in their secondary field? That could be the difference. Has AJ done enough to survive the ground or get off the ground and not get dominated that way? Or has DC closed the gap, and can he, distribute some power with his striking in any way that can maybe hurt Anthony or throw him off and then make him susceptible to those takedowns? That right there is the question, and it gets answered in a little bit over a week.
They could, DC could win this fight, and I would still feel like if you fought 10 more times after that, it could split still.
Well, here, I'll ask you and Brian this. Brian and Brian.
Go ahead.
The fight started. I'm just going to fast forward. All right, I'm going to hit the fast forward button. Oh, DC already got the takedown. Now what are you thinking at this point? Is AJ fucked? And let's just say you have a lot of money on AJ. You're an AJ supporter. Is AJ fucked? Or do you feel like he can threaten DC at all? What are you thinking at this point? He's already down and he's in side control, we'll say.
Okay, yeah, side control is bad,
Mhm.
okay, because Daniel is good at keeping that body pressure on someone, that weight, and keeping them down. If you're an Anthony Johnson supporter, you want him to have that power and that strength, and it's going to start to get zapped away little by little if Daniel can stay on top of him and ground and pound.
Mhm.
So I'm scared, but I wouldn't say I'm in that much trouble because Anthony can get up a lot, too.
Mhm.
He's been taken down before by other guys and just pops back
So
up.
you're a guy that's got $1 million on AJ. What you're concerned about is some of that energy that's depleting.
Yeah.
Because you're confident he can get up, but now when he gets up, some of that pop. So now he's
Round one is for AJ.
now he's a guy that used to go 120 miles an hour. Now he can maybe only go 120 miles an hour, and the gas tank just starts to drop, the energy levels, the meters, or whatever. How about you, Brian from Boston?
The first thing I'm going to look for is how AJ reacts to when he gets taken down. Now, when he gets taken down, does he move immediately to the cage and try to wall walk and get back up? Or does he do what he did last time and just kind of roll around like a fish?
Mm-hmm.
The way he reacts, whether he's aggressive or passive when he gets taken down, it is going to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. If I'm DC, I take him down and I lay on him and I get rid of that power.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is insanely dangerous with those punches. So I guess to wrap it up, I would say it depends on how he reacts the first time he gets down. Does he try to get up actively, or does he just kind of just roll around like he did last time?
If DC tries 2 or 3 takedowns and he can't get him down, or maybe he took him down and AJ pops back up, what do you think AJ or DC's reaction is to all that? What do you think he's thinking?
If I have money on DC,
yeah. And how nervous are you at that point?
I'm nervous, but I'm not as nervous as when AJ's on the ground because, like you said, DC can throw too.
Mm-hmm.
He can hang in there, and he's
Mhm.
taking a shot.
Mhm.
So at least I feel like I have a fighting chance. In the other situation, you got an Olympian on top of you, man. That's horrible.
Mm-hmm. And what if AJ takes DC down and he's on top?
That's pretty scary too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is pretty scary. And then what if DC's hurting AJ? Like, let's say the first round's over, and he got the better shots, and they're both sitting on their stools. How's AJ going to react to that, getting outstruck by DC? More than likely in a fight that just DC landed a shot, and AJ was more in recovery mode versus striking back, because that would be a tough scenario to envision, as would AJ taking down DC. So that's what I'm talking about, is all these secondary positions if the fight gets there. And I expect it to get there. I expect it to be anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes. I don't think it'll go the distance. You said that the other day, right, guys?
I don't think it'll go the
Right.
distance.
I don't expect it to go the distance either. So I do believe there'll be a finish. But I just think we're gonna the fight will hit the ground, and I believe the fight will have a lot of striking. Sorry, and yeah, I'm with you, Brian. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey guys, have a great day.
You too. 866-522-2846 is the number to call in. Our picks have been revealed on the front page of MMA Junkie. You too can participate. I think it's too late for this one, but on any of those, you're part of a consensus pick between our readers. Our readers are 26 and 21 on major cards, with basically all of the main card fights being judged or graded, or however you want to look at it. Now, this is what the readers came up with for this fight. Sanchez is going to win his fight. Sergey Karatanov, and on and on. Noan Lahat, Kazola, the other guy, in the second bout is going to win as well. However, the media has it different. The media has more towards King Mo winning that main event, and Galvao and Sanchez are a little bit more split. In fact, I think I see 50-50 there. But Karatanov seems to be a slam dunk with the exception of Matt Erickson. He is kind of a wild card, right?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, but that wild card's sitting in second place. So it's pretty interesting there. I would say that normally, if you go with the majority, most of these picks do pretty good.
Can we talk a little news?
Sure.
All right, here's what I want to bring up. Did you see Tyrone Woodley yesterday going at it with Michael Bisping?
I didn't see it going at it. I just saw him saying, if that don't work, let's do this. So was there more to it?
A little bit.
What
I mean,
happened?
Not that much more, but I'll read it for people who don't know what we're talking about. Tyrone Woodley tweets to Michael Bisping. He says, George St. Pierre doesn't want to fight for real. He playing all of us. Bisping, I would kindly put my foot in your ass. July 8th, save the date.
Love it.
Great, right? Michael Bisping, I think, even better. Fires back. Tyrone, I have no interest in shadow boxing for 25 minutes against you. I need someone who engages, actually fights.
Oh, man.
But this is the one thing I wish he didn't do. At the end, he put a little happy face. I don't even know. I mean, you've said too much for that happy face to go. He's just bullshit. Like, that's a shot to the face, right to the nose. So that's his comeback. Tyrone Woodley says then don't dance and play Karate Kid like Stevie Wonder. Don't be scared. Come catch this fade or keep running. And Michael Bisping responds, running. You're the one who wanted to do a catch weight of 180. Haha, man up or shut up. I'm in. I'm interested.
That was a nice exchange.
He captured my attention.
That was a nice exchange,
Thoughts?
and I thought Bisping got him. You're right. If he didn't have the smiley face, it would have been more of a shot.
But even with the smiley face.
Because here's what the smiley face does. Even before you named the smiley face, I've always thought that these two guys on the set, you know, when they go, okay, guys, we got a break here between the prelims and the main card or whatever, and they're back in the green room having a sandwich, they say, hey, if we get into it, you know, we need to really get at each other. And let's shake hands right now that it doesn't get personal. All right, wink, 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 wink. Because they're both Fox guys, and you can tell there's a friendship there a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that smiley face leads me to believe that maybe that's actually existed behind the scenes or whatever. So if he didn't, I would still possibly think that, but others that aren't as sharp as I am, because I am the shit, I am sharp, they may not have caught that. So I wish he wouldn't have done that. But that was one hell of a shot that's coming at him for that last fight. And I thought Tyrone hung pretty good, but I thought Bisping had the most impactful blow, and that was it.
All right, on the same
And then he called him on the 180 thing, like, hey, yeah, if you really want to be the champ, man up, because that's kind of what other guys are doing is they're really not – these guys haven't cleaned out divisions where they have to meet in the middle. Just either the smaller guy moves up or that's that.
On the same topic of fighters just trying to get their names out there, trying to stir the pot, Cody Garbrandt.
Interesting.
All right, he tells Demetrius Johnson, if you're going to break that record, which, by the way, you got to get past Wilson Hayes first, why don't you do it against me at 125? He would go down to 125.
That was something else.
I'm in for that,
He can make it to
too.
125?
You know, the last time I saw him, I remember looking at him going, I think he could do it. It may not be the most comfortable thing.
Right.
But I think he would do it. I think he'd look like a Pez dispenser. But
wow, that would be a great fight, man. He would look like a Pez dispenser. And I love that quote. I love what he's doing for his career. He's got, you know, he's got the DJ angle, the Dominic rematch angle, whatever he's got going on with Dillashaw now, and I think at one point he had even entertained, moving up to 45. That's how you do it, folks. But I thought he did it with some substance, rather. I mean, you just can't go out there and say shit, like back it up somehow or another, and he tied it in. Demetrius' record, he wants to break Anderson Silva's record.
I feel like he still kept his integrity. He didn't seem like an asshole or anything like that. I thought it was a good call out.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff there. Well, maybe they're amping it up a little bit more than I think they are when it comes to this. Matthias Nicolau accepts a 1-year suspension for anti-doping violation from UFC Fight Night 100. Well, it's better than 2 years. Vince Pichel returns after more than 3 years. He meets Damian Brown at UFC Fight Night 110 in New Zealand. Clay Guida to make lightweight return versus Eric Koch at UFC Fight Night 112 in Oklahoma City. Do you remember when Koch was going to fight Aldo for a world title?
Yeah.
And he got injured and
things changed.
That's
fast.
when that other kid stepped in. Joe Lazon's buddy at the time. You remember his name? He did an interview with us. He was fishing on a pond.
Oh, wow.
And then he wound up, I think, with some disturbing criminal allegations. I don't know what happened, but he may have been involved in domestic.
He had that nickname.
Zach? What was his name?
No.
Josh.
The Fluke.
The Fluke. What was his name? Josh the Fluke. I want to say Freeman. No, Josh.
Nah.
Freely.
Here, I'll find it.
Josh. No. Come on. Do you really want to cheat? Think about it. Josh Crispy. I told you. Feels better, right?
Well, you got it.
Yeah, Josh Crispy.
You feel better.
No, but I mean, yeah, Josh Crispy.
You're the shit.
Dan Hooker versus Ross Pearson added to UFC Fight Night 110 in Auckland. Trilogy fight we mentioned earlier between Alistair Overeem and Verdum, targeted for UFC 213 in Las Vegas. That week, International Fight Week, has 3 fight cards: a fight night, a tough finale, and a pay-per-view. But we're hearing, and I've heard it now from a few different sources, there may not be an expo.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
Break your heart. You don't care.
Well, I haven't been going because I feel like what they are is just stand in line to get autographs. I mean, I don't feel like the first couple I went to, it was fun stumbling around going, well, what do you do? He goes, I make custom mouth guards. We do this and we do that. And what do you do? Well, this is the mask for training at Elevation here and there, and this is our brand of clothing. And, these compression shorts do this. And this Kevlar jacket will allow you to take hits, whatever. And I feel like this time it was just like, well, where's the GSP line? Where's the Anderson line? Where's the John Jones line? Stand in it, that, whatever. They did branch out. I think a couple podcasts did live shows, but I heard not many people would step there. Now, I think the Hall of Fame could be big. I think they should get it to the level of WWE. It'll just take a while for it to matter. Because here's what happens, and this is what happens to the World MMA Awards show, is there's too many people that are too vocal that rather than just not attend and keep their mouth shut, they're like, why would I attend that bullshit? And they're like, you're in the sport, but yet you're not helping support it in any way. In fact, you're disparaging it. You got to make it mean something. But to get some of these naysayers to that level, the promotions and the award show people, they also have to make it feel like there is a reason for this. This is important. This award is important, and convince people to come. And that's something the World MMA Awards has to, do. I believe they have to get on live television and just continue their steps, their growth. As far as the UFC Hall of Fame, I thought it was pretty cool. When I saw Don Fry up there, I teared up. You could tell it meant a lot to him. You could see the executives that were there, and there was more people in attendance actually looking good and spiffy. And, years behind the pro football, years behind pro wrestling. But I'm telling you, you can close the gap because you can learn from those two sports, and you can make it special for the fans. You can make it special for the athletes. You just have to make it look special, I guess.
I think it's a little different when it's out here on the West Coast, especially Las Vegas. A lot of fans may just be like, been there, done that type of thing. But if they went somewhere else, maybe Boston, something like that, I could see that just blowing up and Expo being great over there.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had it here, 3-4 times now?
Mm-hmm. Now, that said, the lines are long. So it's not like it's a complete failure, because you do want to see what I said, different parts of the MMA industry there, but you also want to see the athletes. So they did hit a home run. They make their athletes available. The athletes are there. The athletes are all around town. But so I would say maybe don't call it an expo per se, because it's not really that, but still have the Hall of Fame announcements there and also have fighters available there. And then come up with some other activities, not necessarily revolving around this is what we do on the apparel side, and because it's basically a UFC thing now. It's not an MMA thing. At first, I think it was more of an MMA thing. You saw Affliction there and Tap Out and all the other brands, and they had goodie bags, and I thought that one was a little bit different.
Danny, have you ever been to a Comic-Con?
I have, actually.
What is it that a Comic-Con does that, I mean, you can't even get a ticket to that sometimes. It's that packed. What is it that they do that's different from other expos? I mean, the only thing I can think of is they have a lot of Q&As with a lot of the talent from the movies, and then the one thing they do is, we're going to release the trailer of this movie. You get to see it first, that sort of thing. But what else?
Can I answer before Danny?
Go ahead.
All right, so what happens is people that don't get laid get to talk to superheroes and sci-fi figures.
That true, Danny?
Well, yeah, but...
But maybe Danny can expand on that a little bit more. Yeah, I'm curious, too. What happens at Comic-Con?
Well, I don't have the greatest experience with Comic Cons just because I really want to go to the New York City Comic Con. There are a couple of really, really big ones, and those are the ones that tickets sell out 10 minutes after they go on sale, type of thing.
Oh, for real?
New York and San Diego are pretty much the two biggest ones in the U.S. at least. I just went to a smaller New York one. I think it was a little under a month ago. It was called Big Apple Con, and so I guess on a much smaller scale, I kind of got a little taste of it. It's pretty cool. You walk around, you get to meet a lot of different artists who do comic books. So if you have like particular comic book artists that you follow, you can meet them. They have like tables and you can wait online, get something signed, talk to them. I know the voice of Ren and Stimpy was at the one that I was at. I thought that was pretty cool. Because I got to like hang out and he would like, say stuff as Ren and Stimpy. But yeah, they do have a lot of panels. The bigger the Comic-Con is, the more, I guess, exclusive stuff that they have. So obviously they're going to release all the really big trailers for like the New York Comic-Con or the San Diego Comic-Con, stuff like that. And those are like panels. You sit down. They have like all of the actors or a big chunk of the actors that had to do with the movie or the TV show or anything like that, and they talk about upcoming stuff that they're doing, and you get to ask questions, I think, in some cases.
There you have it. We got to take our big break here in the second hour. When we come back, we'll have back-to-back guests, Pat Cummins and C.J. Hamilton. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93.
history.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been. And because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Got a question for you guys.
Go ahead.
Our listener Jeffrey from LA goes on Facebook and says, to other critics at press screenings, put your smartphones away. If you'd rather be texting on your smartphone in a screening with other people, then you don't belong here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's rude and disrespectful. He actually has a point.
Yeah.
I know that a couple times we've gone to a screening. That's what we do. We just turn it off, right? You're there to fucking watch the movie. It feels like a privilege.
Correct.
But I told him, well, unless you're friends with them, or, you know, if you're friends with them and they're reading this, and really every friend you're with, you don't read everything they post because it just gets buried, or someone from this thread shares it, then really I wouldn't expect anything to change. What I want to know is, do I ever make posts like that? Where I kind of like chastise people and in reality it's just me venting? Because deep down, you're a psych person. Aren't I looking just for attention or for people to pat me on the back and go, I'm with you?
Well, I think some people are hoping that someone will see that, whoever they're talking about. So they make it as a general statement on everyone, but really the attention that they're trying to get is one person.
Mm-hmm.
That person reads it and goes, is he talking about me? Wait a minute.
Do you think there's a chance
and
that
then Jeffrey would say,
he's
no,
friends
I'm not
with anybody
talking
from
about
that
you,
screening?
those other maniacs.
Right,
but
right.
his point got through.
So wouldn't it just be better to, well, I don't know. I was tripping on that. I was wondering, I wonder if I ever do that. And if I do, stop me.
But the one thing that, and I don't know because I'm not in this world, but if it's a press screening, with all the way things have changed with technology, I don't know if people maybe make notes on their phone now instead of writing it down. If they're watching a movie, if they're going to write something about it, do they go, oh, at the 8:07 minute, this was a corny line.
Well, that's true.
But I don't know. But I always thought the rule in the movie theater was just don't even have it on, whether it's on silent or not. It disrupts. I don't know if a press screening is different. So that would be my only explanation. If there were that many people in the movie theater doing it, that's a lot of rude people.
So I told him that, right? I go, unless you're friends with them and they're reading this or someone in common shares it, they're not going to see it. He wrote, I don't care.
That's it.
So then I wrote him back, you cared enough to make the post, and he just wrote me back, exactly.
That's weird.
It is. And I don't know what else to say because it's not falling in line with the
you know what you're
the
in?
conversation. What?
You're in the champion of the last hit duel right now.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think that's what's going on. So you need to write something back just as dumb. Well, good for you. And then that's going to have to put him in a spot where he's got to...
He actually threw me off my game because, like, it's almost like I'm talking to Yogi Berra, you know? But he rushed home and he vented, and all I was trying to tell him was, I don't think this is going to help. And then he's saying, well, I don't care. You know what it reminds me of? Chauncey from Menace to Society when the white guy comes in and says, he shows up and he goes, what are you doing here so early? And he goes, you told me to come at this time. And he goes, I don't care what I said. Well, wait a minute. You're the one that told me to come at this time. And if you don't even care what you said, then how can anything you say going forward matter to me?
Here's what you got to do.
So then I feel like I'm talking to Chauncey from Menace to Society. He doesn't care. So I told him, you cared enough to make this post, meaning, don't you remember you cared last night? Because you wrote a whole paragraph about it. And he writes back, exactly. Now I'm sitting there going, all right. I think I'm just going to shrug my shoulders and bow out of the room because I'm losing my mind here.
What if he writes you back? Right back, 10:30.
10:30?
Isn't that what he says in the movie? Come back.
Come back at 10:30.
10:30.
All right, you know who's here?
Who?
Pat Cummins. He's ready to go. Pat Cummins is an OC guy now, like us.
George.
But he's from Penn State.
I like Pat Cummins.
Yeah.
And he's very intelligent. What I would do is I would ask him that question. Have him give you guidance as to what you should do.
The comeback for that little argument?
What's the comeback?
You think I can break it down for him? All right, I'll try. All right. Pat Cummins, how you doing, sir?
Hello.
How you doing?
Guys? Good.
Good to have you back on MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George and Goes. I need your help. You ready?
All right, I'm ready. I heard a little of what was going on, but I don't think I caught the whole thing.
Some guy on
But
Facebook went to a screening, And he comes back and says, to all those who go to a screening, please put your phones away. It's rude and disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. I told him, well, unless they're going to read this, or someone in common is going to share it and they're going to read it, it kind of does you no good to really vent. And he writes me back, I don't care. And so I'm confused because if he didn't care, why'd he write the post? Which is what I said to him. And he writes back, exactly. So I feel like, what do I say now? Like, do I just bow out and think, am I talking to a lunatic, or is there a comeback, or what do I do here?
Yeah, I think you got to take the diplomatic approach and just be like, okay, I'm going to chalk this up to this guy isn't playing with a full stack. Just let him go on his way.
Changing gears. Penn State did it again, man. How proud are you of the Nittany Lions? 6 out of 7 years.
You know what, man? I was impressed. Just that their show up in the finals was insane. they just ran through it. It was not. But yeah, they're doing something special, and something that, when I was in school, I think we had won one national championship since like the 50s, and we were chasing it, and we were chasing it individually as well. And man, now it just seems like it's no problem. Just like what the heck? How is that possible? So I mean, hats off to them. They're doing something really special.
See,
that we always dreamed of doing it.
I'm a football guy, and if USC, the Trojans, won 6 out of 7, I don't think I'd have any friends left because I'd be talking so much shit. And so that to me is impressive, man. 6 out of 7 years, because the Oklahoma States of the world, the Iowas, the Iowa States. I mean, there's a lot of Big Ten schools. I forget the name of the conference, but where Lehigh is and
Patriot League.
Patriot League. Yeah, those they're big on it as well. Yeah. Edinburgh. So that's dominance, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, and what's funny is I spent my last coaching years at Lehigh, and man, I love rooting for those guys. And I was pumped to see Darian Cruz pull out the win and get 2 upsets in the semis and the finals. Man, that was awesome. But I love rooting for those guys, and I think Pat Santoro is just like one of the greatest guys I've ever met. And so I'm always secretly pulling for them. Because in college we used to be rivals. Lehigh and Penn State, that's always such a rivalry. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like Lehigh in school, but man, now things change. You grow up a little bit, and I worked with their guys for a long time, and I love them. So I was happy to see a little success on their end too. They're doing the right thing.
You fight in about a week against Jan Blachowicz at UFC 210. Tell me about this fight camp. Have you? I believe that teams and athletes make adjustments throughout their career. And so right now you're in a patch where a few fights haven't gone your way. Have you had to clean house on that front at all, or training partners, or even switch up in any way your preparations for your fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny you say that. I have cleaned house, and it's been. I mean, my last fight was almost a year ago, mm-hmm. So it was a long process, and it was hard on me. Just in every way. You got to get used to a new group of people. You have to go out and seek those people that really genuinely want to help you. And then, of course, financially, you're kind of like, well, I'm strapped here for a little while because I'm not working. But yeah, I think I found my home in with the Black Zillions, and Neil Melanson's a huge part of my camp these days, and I'm really pumped to get out there and show my new stuff.
Pat Cummins, our guest here on MMAjunkie Radio. He fights on April 8th, UFC 2010 versus Jan Blachowicz. These are light heavyweights, the 205 weight class. What do you have for Pat Cummins?
Pat, MMA, there's just so much competition, so much drive. How difficult is it to take breaks and just rest from MMA? Is that difficult knowing seeing all the other people in the division and them getting their work with social media and all that stuff, is it hard to really just get away from it for a little bit and rest?
Yeah, it really is. And my initial thought going into the sport was, I started late. I need to make up time, and I fought as many times as I possibly could, each year, and just try to max it out. And that takes a toll on you. That's really difficult. And I think, at first I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm gonna get the ball rolling and keep things going. And then after a while, it started to take a toll on me, and before I knew it, things were kind of out of control, and I wasn't getting, the camp or the time that I needed in the gym, in the areas that I needed, and it was really difficult to step back because, like you said, you're out of the spotlight, you're not making money, and you're kind of like trying to figure out what's going on and how you can make changes, and you don't know if you're taking a break is the right thing, or if it's going to change for the better. So it's difficult, but I think through that process for me, I think I kind of realized that hey, I need to take my time, and I need to go out there and win every moment I can. I need to be prepared for every one of those contests. So that's kind of what I've pulled from it, and I've been surrounding myself with the right people, and I think I'll have the answer here.
You brought up coaching earlier, and I've heard that about you, that you have a really good mind for that. Can you maybe describe to us what the difference is between the satisfaction that comes from coaching someone to a victory and the difference between that and yourself, coaching yourself, through a victory?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're doing it yourself, you're wrapped up in the moment, and it's all about you, and there's pressure, but I think the pressure is very different. It's more of a I think you're able to look past it because you're so focused on your goal. But on the flip side, when you're coaching someone, man, like I never thought I'd be nervous for one of my athletes to compete on a big stage, or because that's not something I feel. I mean, of course I'll get nervous, but not like that. And I just remember thinking, man, I can't remember the last time I felt this way about somebody, someone else, like someone else's career. So it's very strange, to kind of step back out of the role and let somebody else take charge. But I think it's good for you. I think it's good to get both perspectives.
Pat, do you still have any ties to the OC? Like, do you just camp in Florida with Neil Melanson, or have you completely moved to Florida?
Yeah, at the time, at the moment, I'm just I'm camping down here. So it's been, I've been traveling back and forth and kind of, making sure I'm making the right moves. And I actually did a camp. I was supposed to fight on the I forget the date of it now. Maybe it was a December card up in Albany, and I got a staph infection like a week and a half before the fight, so I had to pull out. So I did my full camp down here for that. Then I got bounced out, and then started to camp up again. And I really think that it was for the best because I needed that extra time to kind of get used to these guys and get used to the system that they use down here, and just kind of springboard off that team feeling that I think I've been missing for a while ever since Rain and Mark Munoz closed Rain down.
Right.
I think I've been missing that team atmosphere.
Well, I'll tell you what, another place you could have moved to was Brazil. 4 of your last 5 fights were there. I mean, they were fucking shipping you out. I thought, what's going on here? Like, do they just want him to leave the country and maybe he'll run Brazil, maybe be a UFC representative down there when he's done?
I was confused by that too. I was like, "What? Come on! how can I have to keep going back here over and over again? And it wasn't. It's difficult to go, especially in that environment. It's difficult. I like Brazil. I like the people. I like, traveling, and that's part of the job. But man, that was a rough stretch.
No doubt. Well, now it happens in Buffalo,
Yeah.
close to your neck of the woods from the college days, next state over. But at least you stay stateside, and it's great catching up with you as always. Say hello to Neil Melanson. Tell him the boys from Junkie Radio at the Mandalay Bay say hello, and thanks for doing the interview, and good luck, man, at UFC 210.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care. We'll see you.
Appreciate it.
Bye. I want to thank Kyle for facilitating that interview. We're going to take our last break. When we come back, we will talk to C.J. Hamilton. And, yes, folks, you'll get a few minutes of overtime. As long as we connect. We've been trying. We'll be right back.
Okay, you see that I can walk, which is good. But still you're trying to make me talk like you would. Your intention's nice. You're improving.
To link into the MMA Junkie Radio Network, hit us up on Twitter.com at MMA Junkie Radio. This is MMA Junkie Radio. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
Next Friday at the TD Convention Center in Greenville, South Carolina, it's LFA 8, Hamilton versus Bazzi. Jesse Bazzi 6-1 versus C.J. Hamilton at 2-0. We're joined by one of the headliners now. It's C.J. Hamilton. What's up, C.J.? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Doing good. Hey, CJ, clear something up for me. On MMA Junkie, we spell your name C-E-E and then the space and then J-A-Y. On your social media, it just says CJ with no periods, no nothing. It's just the capital C and the capital J. And then on SureDog, where where one of your official records resides, they have C.J. What's it say on your driver's license?
Okay, so you spell it C-E-E-J-A-Y. I don't know why these guys are out there spelling it that way, but I've always spelled it that way. So.
All right, so just to be clear, C-E-E, and then there's a space, and then J, capital J-A-Y, right? It's not all one word?
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right. How do you spell Hamilton? Just kidding. Hey, where are you at right now, man? Are you sailing or what?
No, I'm actually at work right now. I'm about to go to a much quieter place, because fighting doesn't pay the bills right now, but, it is what it is.
You know what it sounds like right now? Like you're in a barrel, and as soon as you hang up the phone, you're going to go, all right, do it, and you're going to go over Niagara Falls. It's pretty loud.
No. I'm at work right now, so it's a little noisy in here, but I'm about to head towards the break room. It's a pretty big plant, so I'm getting my exercise going across the plant. So.
All right, cool. What do you do? What's your job?
We recycle car windshields. We use PVB film in it. We melt it down till it's almost like milk, and we use it for carpet backing. And then we also use the glass to go inside housing insulation, like little shards of glass of it. So it's pretty cool, trying to keep the world green and everything and doing that. So
Does that ever get on your skin? Because I've played with insulation before, and it's a nightmare when it gets in your skin.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing that sucks about it is it gets really, really dusty. But I make sure I wear long sleeves because I don't play with that stuff either, man. I hate it. My skin is pretty sensitive, so I try to stay away from it. Can you guys hear me better now?
We can. I'll tell you what. We're going to put you on about a 45-second hold, and then we're going to continue the interview now that we have a little bit better audio. So I'm just going to do a soft exit here, but we're going to keep you for a few minutes overtime. You're okay on the time, right?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just, like I said, I had to get to a quieter place, so.
No worries. All right, so we're talking to C.J. Hamilton, and we'll continue talking to C.J. Hamilton, who will be fighting next Friday at LFA 8 versus Jesse Bozzi, 6-1 versus 2-0. This is at the TD Convention Center in Greenville, South Carolina. Let us play this Elvis music for about 30, 40 seconds, and then we'll be right back with C.J. Hamilton, so stay close. It's MMA Junkie Radio Overtime.
All you need is a strong heart and a nerve of steel. Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas with your neon flashing and your one-armed bandits crashing. All those hopes down the drain. Viva Las Vegas turning day into nighttime, turning night into daytime. If you see it once, you'll never be the same again. I'm gonna keep on the run. I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last.
You guys are clear for overtime.
All right, we have C.J. Hamilton here with us. And C.J., I wanted to ask you, so is this just your job, or is this like the type of life you live, as far as recycling, the environment? Like, do you drive a hybrid, or how much does this affect your personal life?
No, man. It's just my job right now. I mean, it's a pretty cool gig, and it makes way for my training, so it works out with my schedule. So I'm just doing it just to pay the bills, though.
All right, cool. How far away do you think you are from being a full-time fighter?
I'm actually really close, not really far. I feel like within the next 1 or 2, I will be able to fight full-time and train full-time, and I'm pretty excited about that. But, as of right now, I'm just taking it one day at a time, man. So all I can control is what's going on in front of me right now.
How does this work, CJ? Like, you save your money till you get to a point where you're comfortable and you have, 6 months or 12 months of car payments and rent, or do you have, financial backing from, a company or some sort of a sponsor that says, hey, look, we're going to give you a little bit of assistance every month? What? I'm sure both would be great, but what route are you taking here so that you become a full-time fighter?
Well, I mean, really right now it's just this. I mean, I'm working and training, and, when I do fight, I get a little bit of, some money out of that. But really, that's the route I'm going, is just me working. And because, I mean, I have sponsors and whatnot, but, they don't give me financial backing or anything until, fight. And, I mean, that's how it's supposed to work anyways. But, I mean, it is what it is. Right now, it's just me and
part of the grind, okay.
Oh yeah, man. I love it. I absolutely love knowing that I busted my ass to get here and I haven't had any handouts, because that's saying a lot. You can really call yourself a man. See, I work from 6 to 4 in the morning, and I train from 5 5:30, sometimes 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night. And, and I train 6 days a week. So, and then on Saturday mornings, I train in the morning, and on Sundays, that's like my only day off. So knowing that I'm busting my ass and doing everything I can to get to where I want to be, that gives me the confidence to walk down that stage, and every step I take into the cage, I think about that. And, I think that's what separates me from a lot of guys out here now.
Man, I'm your fan now. I can appreciate that. And I'll tell you what.
Oh man, look, hey, it's nothing, man. When I first moved down to my gym that I'm at now, and it's crazy because me and my coach were just talking about today. When I first moved down to my gym, I had $5.35 in my pocket, and I didn't have a car. I just had a dream, and I talked to my coach, and I lived in the karate school for like 3.5, 4 months. And the first week I moved down there, I ended up having 2 job interviews, scored a job, and I had a car within like 3 weeks. So, the grind, that's my middle name, man. When I want something, I go out there and get it. And, I've been here ever since.
C.J. Hamilton, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. LFA 8 is next week. He headlines that card versus Jesse Bazzi, Goes, what do you have for C.J.?
CJ, did you say $5.35? That's what you showed up with?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
That's all I had to my name, man.
I don't even think if somebody said, "Hey, let's go to the mall." If I only had $5.35, I think I'd say, "I can't. I only got $5.35." You changed your life.
It's a little bit more than that because I wrestled in college, so I had friends that were training down here, and I would commute with them and train with them, and I was living like 30 minutes away. And like I said, I didn't have a car. At one point in time, there was a time where my trainer, when I was an amateur, he said, if you miss class, you can't fight, which is understandable. And I was like I said, I was 30 minutes away. If you don't come to class, you can't fight. And like I said, I didn't have a car. And I rode a mountain bike. I'll never forget, it was on jiu-jitsu night. 30 minutes in the car, it was 3.5 hours on the bike. So I did that. So, like I said, grinding is my middle name.
Wow. Well, let's talk about your nickname, because this is the first question I wanted to ask you. The Autobot, how'd you get it, and what's your favorite Autobot?
Okay, so my mom's favorite color is yellow. So, I'm with Bumblebee, man. Bumblebee is that dude. He's always been one of my favorite ones. How I got it, I was doing some training with Mike Easton in Maryland. He was getting ready for his fight. It was supposed to be T.J. Dillashaw he had scheduled, but they rescheduled it, and he fought Rafael Assunção. And, his nickname is Mike the Hulk Easton. And, here I am. I'm sitting here. I don't even have a nickname. And we were just talking about movies and whatnot, and Transformers happened to come up. And I have a knack for just absorbing, like, if I have to fight a certain style, I can fight that style very well. So it's like kind of like an Autobot, how they would drive past the car and take that form of the car. So, I have a lot of different styles I can show in a fight. And, he was like, "Do you like Transformers?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's a pretty dope movie. I'm a fan." He was like, "What about the Autobot?" I was like, "Yeah, that was sick." And, after about 3 or 4 fights, we started using it, and it just stuck. So I feel like it's pretty genuine in a way.
I think it's pretty cool. So let me ask you, I know every camp is different, but have you found kind of the correct recipe for yourself where you feel comfortable now with every camp, or do you feel like that's still evolving from fight to fight?
Oh, yeah, I feel like I've like I said, this is my 15th fight. I'm 10-4, so like after a while you have to figure it out. When my first 3 or 4 pro fights, it was kind of weird. I had to figure out my style and going through the mental lapses and trying to get through things. But I feel like I'm 100% positive that I have it figured out. And now people are in trouble now because the thing is I'm starting to get comfortable. I don't know if any of you guys play any sports, but you guys think, say you play football, the first football game you ever had, you're probably nervous as hell because you didn't know what to expect. And then you look at your 10th or 12th football game and you start loosening it up and you're starting to get comfortable. So that's kind of what's going on. What's been going on with me is, now I'm starting to get comfortable and understanding and evolving and, just working on everything I can and soaking up everything I can. So.
You mentioned football. Did you play football?
No, man. I wrestled, man. I tried out for football my 7th grade and middle school, in 7th grade, and I got cut from the team because they said I was too small. I looked like a little giant out there with the middle schoolers, so.
Okay, I got you. And how long ago was it that you were riding 3.5 hours on a bike just to get to practice? How long ago in your life was that?
Man, I was actually going to do that last weekend, but it ended up raining.
Right.
But it was, it was about 2.5 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, somewhere around there. But even then, it was like maybe about a year ago.
Right.
I was running from my house to practice and back, and that's about 3 or 4 miles out there and back. So, running there before practice training and running back home after practice. So,
But since all that, the Autobot has bought an auto?
Yes.
Okay.
The Autobot is an auto. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
No more riding bikes.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need to kind of save up some of that energy. I mean, it can only last for so long, and I see that you're at the big 3-0, 30 years old. So hopefully soon you become a full-time fighter, and that rest and recovery is so important. As you continue through your career. Face it, man, you're at the LFA level where you're headlining. If things go well, this is where Dana White happens to stumble into an event like this, and even if he doesn't. What used to be RFA and LFC is now LFA. Those events catapulted these fighters to the next level. So hopefully you're also at that level where you're a full-time professional fighter soon. I'm really rooting for you.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
And anyway, what's your prediction for Jesse Bozzi? How's this going to end, CJ?
Oh, man, it's going to end with my hand raise. I mean, there's so many things I can do. I'm an avid wrestler, so I can take him down. I hurt everybody I fight. I mean, it's plain and simple. I might, I'm a short 125er, but if I get my hands on you, you're gonna realize that some hands have been put on you. So either way, I'm gonna dominate every position. It doesn't matter where it's the ground or standing. This is my time, and he's not stopping me. So.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever talked to your opponent while you've been fighting them?
No, I kind of have a conversation in my head. It's kind of weird. I was talking to my roommate, who's also on this card as well, Jay Gray. He's fighting that night too, and we were talking about it last night. It was just like a little conversation that we had, and I'll just say things like, "Oh yeah, I know that hurt," or you know what I mean, just little something, not a full blown conversation, but
right.
Just a little something.
All right, interesting.
I'm not like Khabib. I don't understand how Khabib did that to Michael Johnson when he was like, "You should just give up. You should just give up like that."
Right.
I can't do it like that. Or Connor, but I talk a little bit in my head.
It's been fun to get to know you, man. Thanks for doing the interview, and I know you may have had to exit out of work for a bit, so we appreciate you making time for us. Good luck with the rest of your camp. Sounds like there's maybe 3 or 4 more workouts, and then you head to South Carolina for LFA 8 next Friday in the main event versus Jesse Bozzi.
I appreciate it.
Do you want to holler at any of your social media or any backers you may have? Just, any love?
Oh, well, yeah.
Anything you want to plug?
Just to give a huge shout-out to my team, Contemporary Martial Arts, my trainer, Chuck Cawthon, Carolina Cawthon, my affiliate gym, Straight Black Gym, Admin Roy Singer. Huge thank you to Jimmy Fowler at Revolution Mixed Martial Arts for having me up there a couple times. Thanking my sponsors, Versa Climber, Knockout Representation, Oren Hodak, one of the best managers in the game right now. Venom, Bubble Chat app, Gamma Lab, excuse me, and everybody else that's been a part of my camp, man. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to get it on, man. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Can't wait to see it. And folks, follow him on Twitter at DJ_Dozier. Thanks, CJ, for the time. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you. All right, folks, that's our show for today. I want to thank CJ Hamilton, And I want to thank Oren Hodak for lining that up. Goes, you want to say anything to Oren?
Hello, Oren.
Also, thank you to Pat Cummins, Kyle, for setting that up. You have anything for Kyle, Goes? You didn't have it ready? And then lastly, Quentin Rampage Jackson. He was on earlier, and he fights King Mo at Bellator 175. Should be a great fight. Thanks to Tiki and Danny for setting that up. Thanks to Danny, our producer, for keeping the glue together for this show. We will see you all tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. Gegard Mousasi will join us. Working on another name as well, but it's not locked in yet, so I don't want to jinx it. So for Goes, I'm George, and we're out of here. Go out there, be champions.